This podcast contains explicit language, alcohol references, and fantasy violence descriptions. Viewer discretion is advised. Towers stick up, pushing through the clouds. As you get closer, you start to see that they're all attached to this platform. And hanging down from the bottom, you see almost like an upside down New York City with sky rises and things like that. But when you look at the top, you see a beautiful, almost marble covered platform. On one side, you see a spaceport where ships are coming in and landing, unloading their cargo. Ships are taking off carrying passengers to go on diplomatic missions with other uh, planets and things like that. When you go to the far side of this platform, you're going to see that there's living areas, very much people who probably don't have the greatest jobs, but they're living in mansions. This is a rich land. But in the center, there's the capital. And in the capital, there are three very tall towers. And if you were to imagine them as a clock, they would appear at 12, 4, and 8. But each of them has a different purpose. The Chancellor and all of his staff work in the tower at the 12 o'clock. Down near the 4, instead of being a tower in the classical sense, this is more of like a pantheon that's been built up. And here you have the only judicial court in the land. And over at the 8 o'clock, you have the Senate Tower. And inside, you have lots of places for senators to sit and drink and talk and eat food. There's some housing where diplomats from other planets can stay. And at the top is the chamber where they debate. Surrounding them are 4 other towers, and each of these represent the different areas of Ursa Red. You have one for the Cloud, which is where we are currently looking. We have one for the Rise, which is that New York City place that I described. There's one for the Surface, which is covered in water, and one for the Under, which is a prison colony deep inside the crust of this planet. Something something interesting has just happened there. But before we get into that, I am Alexander Crutchfield, and I am the game master for Ursa Red Cloud Walking. Joining me today is oh boy. Joining me today is Dean. I
Hey
keep
everyone, my
wanting
name
to say
is
Dean Martin. Joining
Dean Martin.
Oh my gosh.
Hey everyone, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm not Dean Martin, but this is Dean Balter, and today I'm going to be playing a character called Torbanese, uh, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
All right. Can you give us a quick overview of Torbanese?
Yeah, Torbanese is a 6'2" blonde high elf. He's usually walking around in very like regal clothing. Usually something made out of silk or or like a kind of like a suit kind of attire. He always has a look on his face, kind of like he's in deep thought. And he, how far do you want me to go into?
Uh,
Description?
uh, I think that's okay.
All right, cool.
Um, I'm joined by Kent Rawlings.
Hey everyone, I'm Kent Rawlings. Today I am going to be playing a character called Roland Blacksteel. He is a fighter. He's about 6 foot tall with brown hair, male human. Just has kind of like a little bit of a charm to him. Um, he is wearing the nice plate armor that is gray and outlined in black with the two hammer sigil on the front chest plate, and he also is wielding a large great sword down his back that you can see. Um, and yeah, that's rolling.
I'm joined by Zach Stubbs.
That's me, and I'm going to be playing Enzio. Enzio has buzz cut, deep black hair, and really bright blue eyes. Clean shaven, 5'11" human male. He's wearing very nondescript gray robes, kind of like a deep dark gray. They're very just the opposite of ornate. There is no extra threads, no extra emblems, nothing remarkable about them at all. He is kind of the person, if you were to look at him and take that face value, he is trying to blend in.
We will be starting between the pathway of the executive building and the rise. We see a young man. His name is Aaron, Eron, not super important. But he works as an assistant to the secretary for the executive of the rise, or the senator of the rise. And we see him running along a pathway as he is moving his feet through the clouds that currently are covering the ground as the city moves through a cluster of clouds. He is going to enter into the building. He's going to run into the elevator and start just jamming the button for the 19th floor. When he gets to the 19th floor, he's going to run in and look at the secretary and say, I need to talk to the senator right now. They're just going to gesture him up a set of stairs where he runs up. There's a very short hallway. It has 3 doors. 2 on the left go to the senator's cabinet, which right now is vacant except for maybe like a few of his friends. And instead, he turns right and he enters into the senator's office. And he looks at him and he says, Senator, the chancellor's dead.
Oh shit.
So Torbanese turns over and looks at Aaron, and he kind of has like a confused look on his face, and he just looks over. He's like, "What do you mean? The Chancellor is not even 600 years old yet. How could he be dead already?"
I just know I was lurking around in the executive building like I was told to and trying to pick up gossip, and then the secretary for the chancellor came out and passed out. The guards ran into the elevator. We waited roughly 10 to 15 minutes for them to come back, where they sent for a coroner to come and some kind of investigation to take place in the office. That's what I know. And then when the secretary woke up, confirmed that the chancellor was dead.
And Torbanese is kind of looking over at the side of his desk, contemplating this. He looks over at Aaron and he says, "Quickly, get me Enzio and Roland. I need to talk to them."
I believe Enzio and Roland are currently in the cabinet room. What are you two doing in the cabinet room? There's like a large desk that's normally used for meetings, and there's several small offices. Uh, some of them are vacant and no one occupies those offices. There's 2 of them where someone is in that job, but you guys don't really have much to do other than go to Senate meetings and talk to the lobbyists from the corporations of the Rise. And so these guys are probably at a bar drinking with the company that makes Goop, or a company that makes robotics for manufacturing ships, things like that. And so that's probably off where they're at. What are you guys doing? Because you're the only 2 in here.
I would likely be sitting at the desk, just mulling over whatever paperwork. Kind of the kind of person that would just be involved for the sake of being involved, knowing full well that I have no reason to. I could just completely sit back, kick my heels up, and not have anything to do. And yet Enzio still just toiling away for the sake of toiling away.
Yeah, opposite of Enzio, Roland has his feet kicked up on the desk, hands behind his head, with absolutely no cares in the world. He's just kind of hanging around.
I imagine Roland's been sitting there just throwing wads of paper at a empty trash can, just missing repeatedly.
Hey Enzio, you need this? As he
Uh,
wads up a piece of paper and
yeah, if
throws
you
it
could
in the
send that.
trash
Oh,
can.
okay, yeah, it'll be all right.
Oh yeah, I mean I can go get that if you need.
I don't need it. It's for the spaceport. There's a whole
Okay,
issue
good,
with the
because
tariffs,
I
and
wasn't
they
gonna
were
get it.
gonna. So,
The
okay.
door swings open as Aaron appears, and he goes, the senator wants you."
Oh,
Senator
yeah,
can
we must
suck.
go. No,
Okay, yeah,
no,
let's go.
we must go at once.
Let's do it.
Roland gets his feet under him and heads towards the door.
I'll wait a couple seconds while I keep wrapping up exactly what I'm doing as I'm kind of walking away, like hips moving before my hand and pen do, and then I'll step out of the room.
You guys enter the senator's office. Right now, sitting behind the desk is Senator
Torbanese.
Torbanese, and this is again like a very masoned room. So it's marble floors. There's some bookshelves along the walls. A lot of them are in alien languages, but gotta fill those bookshelves. And there's a small little table where he takes guests, and on either side there's like little like stuffed chairs, like club chairs. And in front of his desk there's two wooden chairs. Wood hasn't been super common on Ursa Red in a while since the surface flooded, so these wooden chairs are imported. Just signs of wealth, things like that. And behind him there is a window that opens up, or well, it doesn't open up. It shows the view of the spaceport behind you guys.
So, as Roland and Enzio walk into the room, Torbanese stands up from his desk and he kind of walks over to the window and he starts looking out. And then he asks you guys, "Did Aaron tell you why I needed you?"
No,
Yeah,
no,
let's
we
hear
just
it.
told you needed us.
He kind of glances over back at you guys and looks back out the window. The Chancellor is dead.
Wait, what?
What does that mean for us?
Interesting.
I don't know what happened to the Chancellor yet, but I will say this is our chance. I don't mean to seem callous, but we all know that the Senator of the Cloud has always had the favor of the Chancellor, and the Chancellor has always given most of the profit and most of the common things that they need to the Cloud and their Senator. This is our chance. We can run for Chancellor and make the Rise more powerful and help our people.
Has word reached the other senators?
I'm not sure yet, but
Uh, you, as that question is asked, you're going to. So you each have like a computer that's mounted to your wrist, and you're going to get a notification, uh, Torbanese, that there is an emergency meeting in the Senate main hall, which is where like you guys gather to come up with laws and things like that.
so he's gonna look down. He's gonna see that it's beeping, and he's gonna look it over at you guys and say, "Look, I have somewhere I need to be. This may be a while. I'm not quite sure, but I need you guys to figure out what happened to the Chancellor. I'll converse with you guys when I get back."
And before you go, I'm just gonna. It's something that's likely happened hundreds and hundreds of times in our experience of working together. I'm just going to touch the side of your head, and I'm going to use my feature as a warlock. I just need to find the name of it. Gaze of Two Minds, and I'm assuming you're a willing creature.
Yes.
And I'm going to be able to perceive through your senses, and I can maintain that indefinitely as long as I utilize a bonus action each turn to maintain it. So I'll be able to perceive through your senses and see what you're getting, so that me and Roland will be constantly in the loop with you.
Hell yeah.
Wait, Torbanese, you don't want me to go with you? I am your personal bodyguard.
I mean, you can come with me to the building, but I'm not sure if they're going to allow you in on our meeting. So if they do, you can come in, but I highly doubt, especially with this high security going on right now. But follow me, and we'll make our way over to the building.
I made a pact that I would defend you from any and every
We'll get him
danger.
to the door. How about that, Roland?
Yeah, I'll stay outside, and I will very nicely stand along the wall until he's done.
That's a good man.
Ever the dutiful soldier.
Uh, okay, Enzio, we'll be back.
What kind of pace are you guys like gonna be walking at? Like, is this a fast walk or is this
So
kind a little bit more leisurely and
I'd say
portraying calm?
I would say Torbides is probably going to be like portraying calm. He's going to be doing like a brisk walk. He's not going to be like running or jogging or anything. He's just going to be walking a little bit faster than normal, but trying to maintain a calm like face and demeanor, and kind of looking around at all the people while he's walking by them, and just seeing if they're already freaking out, if they know anything about like like if they're already have they already heard about the chancellor and stuff.
Okay. Uh, you guys are going to walk out into the hall. Aaron is out there. And you guys are gonna pass him on your way to the elevator. Get into the elevator, go down to the lobby. Um, as you get out to the lobby, you're gonna see a bunch of people sitting in like the waiting area. It's a bunch of couches around tables, uh, and they are whispering to each other. And you can tell that at the very least there are rumors uh, starting to float around and really kind of um, really starting to settle in.
Yeah, Roland at the same time, being the Secret Service for Torbanese, is actively scanning the environment around to make sure that there are no active, not per se threats, but just anything out of the ordinary, or like just pulling security on Torbanese. But also, he's thinking in his head that this is his chance to not be a bodyguard forever. So
Mm-hmm.
he's thinking to himself that he he really wants this to work out for the Rise and for Torbanese, so that way that maybe he can move up in the world.
Yeah, and you're not really gonna see anything that is too, I don't know, too out of the ordinary. But what you are gonna see is like there's lots of people that are talking a bit quieter than normal. Um,
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, just Roland's just doing his job, just making sure that everything's going as normal as they can.
yeah. So you guys are going to enter the Senate building, and everybody has been cleared out. You see that there's multiple bodyguards that are down in the lobby, and these belong to the Senator of the Cloud. He has like 20 of them, so they're just kind of stationed throughout the building. And you guys are going to be able to get onto the elevator and ride all the way up to the floor where you can enter into the chamber of the Senate.
Is it expected that only Torbonese will be allowed to enter the chamber?
Uh, no. Uh, you're the bodyguard.
The entourage
Uh,
can come with.
Roland can. But Enzio cannot.
Yeah, so I figured that would probably be the case. So I would most likely, as soon as I got them to the door, I would start immediately going to where the locals and where the important people, whatever uh, lounge, wherever local watering hole is for the people that I want to rub elbows with and the people that I want to start figuring out what they know.
Okay. Right now, because the entire uh, Senate is shut down, your best bet is probably going to be going to the political power, which is a restaurant and lounge between the Capitol and the spaceport. This is kind of where a little bit more of the shady business of the political world is done. But right now, this is where most people would go if they don't go back to their office.
Yeah, so I would know that beforehand, so I would just give them the heads up that that's where I was heading, and to meet me there later.
Okay, sounds good. As you are uh, on the way there, you're gonna see Aaron, and he's gonna try to gesture towards you. Um, but like your gut instinct is telling you that it's a little bit too soon to talk to Aaron right now.
And so I'll just, yeah, using the awakened mind, I can, if he's within 30 feet of me, I can just say in his head, not now.
Okay. And he's gonna kind of nod and then just start running off. Big runner, runs everywhere. Uh,
Lots of cardio.
and yep, you get to the political power. You step inside. There's a hallway. If you go to the left, you're gonna get to like a reception desk for the lodging upstairs. But when you turn right, you're gonna enter a room that was probably once like 4 or 5 rooms, but now it's all been combined, and there's seating all through this area. Everything is wood, except the building is still made out of like a marble or some other kind of rock that looks nice when carved. And you just go and kind of take a seat. I would assume at like generally near the center or near a group of people talking.
Yes, so I would, my basically my go-to would be the people that know me and that know that I'm capable of psychic communication would understand that I would just be going and sitting at the bar close to the middle of the room, and I would reach out to people without actually going to talk to them, so that nobody could see me talking to someone, but they would understand that it's me talking to them, and so I would start reaching out to my contacts and try to see what information they have.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We will come back to you, but first we're gonna jump to the Senate. So inside of the Senate, there's it's generally kind of formed like an amphitheater, and at the front there is normally where the chancellor sits, while you guys kind of sit in your perspective desks around him. Uh, but at this moment there is no chancellor, so instead there is the cabinet of the chancellor, who none of these people know what their job is and haven't really done anything since they've been put in this position. And so now they're in front of the Senate saying, Chancellor Yenroy is dead. Um, we we don't really know what to do. Um, uh, not like they seem very distressed, right? Just kind of stumbling over words a little bit, trying to form sentences.
And just above the table, how long has Senator Yenroy been in power?
This is his second term of 50 years.
Okay.
So he was like
And it's
towards his
like this
100th.
is towards the end of that term, or is that
So this is a little over halfway of the second term. So
so
he's
close to
probably
8
been,
years?
77 years.
yeah, close to 80. And as these people are kind of stumbling over what they're trying to say, a very old dwarf in the corner goes, "Well, I I know what to do. You see, in the Constitution, and he just starts reading this giant paragraph, right? In there, like he starts a sentence, and then in the middle of the sentence, he adds a correction or an interpretation that's been added. So it's like, if a chancellor should not be able to fulfill, and by fulfill I mean he abdicates, quits, but like
Yeah,
just
just
going
like
through this
read.
whole thing, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, we should have just rewritten this or added this at the end because there's way too much happening right here. Uh, and he gets to the end of this just absolutely jumble of legalese, and then he looks up and goes, "As you see, it clearly says we must have an election."
What's
Right?
what's his
So,
name?
uh, I'm just gonna call him the keeper of the book.
Hmm.
Um,
The keeper.
yeah, no one really talks to him because that how this guy is reading the Constitution is also just how he talks. Where
No one wants
he
to
will
talk
say
to him.
Yeah.
"I" and then be like, "I," well, which is me. I'm the great grandchild of this person. And he like starts to clarify what he's meaning, but we all know what "I" means. Um, right? Perfect person to keep the book.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, so no one really talks to him. They just call him the keeper of the book, and his entire life is just reading contracts, legal contracts.
The Constitution.
Yeah. So yeah, you know that an election is like wild because nobody actually votes for the chancellor. The chancellor just kind of goes, "Hey, this person's now chancellor." And this is a position that has a high perceived amount of power,
Mm.
and your only real job is to be a diplomat. I would like to just reinforce that I said perceived power.
Yes.
Uh, Everybody looks at him and goes, "That guy's powerful." In actuality, he just talks to people and goes, "Oh yeah, no, we've got a lot of great resources on Ursa Red, and you should trade with us." Like, he's a diplomat.
Mm.
He doesn't really do anything too crazy. Because if there's a law that comes onto his desk, he just goes, "Yeah, cool. I don't care. I'm above it." You know, um, and that's that whole job. So there being an election for this means that the chain of just passing down the chancellorship from person to person is destroyed, and you now have the best possible chance of getting that position.
Hmm. Torbanese is gonna stand up and he's gonna look over and say, "Thank you, Keeper, for your very good explanation of what we're supposed to be doing." And he's gonna look over at the rest of the Senate and say, "Look, we all know that an election has not happened in a long time, but the last senator came from the Cloud District. I think it's only fair that the next senator comes, or the next chancellor comes from my district."
There's immediately going to be just an outbreak of arguing at the end of that sentence is people are like yelling at each other, and
That's exactly
like
what I wanted.
the senator for the cloud is just yelling about how it's basically his birthright. The senator for the under is like basically just arguing. He's not really saying anything. He knows that his chances of getting the position are like almost zero.
What's the
Because
cloud the senator for the cloud? What's his name?
you're doing that thing to
I'm
me
not
again
trying to be
where I
mean, I
haven't
promise. But if I have to
You
address
just
him,
need to,
if I have to
yeah.
address him, I'm not gonna be like,
Okay.
"Hey, cloud senator."
uh I'm gonna make it stupid complicated. We're gonna call him Leonis.
Leonis or Leonis?
Leonis.
Leonis.
And what's the under senator name? I'm gonna have to talk to him. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings.
His name is Chuck.
Chuck, perfect. That's a good name for him.
Yeah, it fits.
So Torbenese is gonna look over and say, Leonis, look, give me a second. Calm down. Look, we understand that you think this is a birthright, but this is a democracy. This is a senate. This is why the next representative needs to be someone from the working class, the backbone, because you think that you just can have this as a birthright to sit there and do nothing, but we all know that the backbone of this world is the rise, and we are going to make this a better place for all of us.
Well, I think that your job is basically not important. We all meet the lobbyists from the rise. And it's not even really a democracy. I mean, who votes for the senator of the under? They're all prisoners. They're not allowed to vote. Like it this democracy hasn't existed for hundreds of years, almost thousands of years, since the last election for a chancellor. And who knows, maybe we'd still have a surface, no offense, as he gestures over to Xander of the surface. And he's no offense, and he's like, Xander's like, well, we would have a surface if we could just get that stupid generator fixed, but the Rise never wants to send people down. And just starts going off on his own, very naturey kind of individual that just feels like no one listens to him, but half the time he doesn't speak loud enough for anyone to hear him.
Just like a quiet environmentalist.
Oh yeah. I mean, when he is loud, everyone just doesn't listen to him, and when he's not loud, he's super quiet, so no one can hear him. It little bit of both extremes. And Leonis is gonna just go back and be like, things have been working. Do we agree that while things are not great in some of the lesser parts of the world, things have been working?
Torbenese looks at him and said, "You're correct. It hasn't been great, and I'm here to make Ursa Red great again."
Yeah, you're gonna be that guy.
Crap, I set that up.
Roland's in the back, like behind Torbenese, standing against the wall, and he says that, and he just shows a slight little smirk on his face, like, yeah. We already have a campaign slogan. I love it.
The keeper of the book is going to kind of get a word in, and he's gonna be like, as nice as it is to skip the process, like he just lied through his teeth. He doesn't think that's true. The Constitution must hold, or else it's anarchy. Anarchy.
Look, Keeper, don't worry. We can still hold the vote, but I know that the Rise, we will win this. Mark my words.
One of the cabinet members for the previous chancellor is just like fallen into complete disarray while you guys are talking. He hasn't heard any of it. He's just getting more and more emotional, and he's like, going home," and he just runs out. So one of the other cabinet members is like, "Well, gotta find a job," and then he just hits like a gavel, like that was just hanging out on the chancellor's little podium. He's like, uh, "Hi guys," just walks out. Right, like these guys have no sense of formality. They were just like childhood friends of the previous chancellor, so they're just walking out now. Uh, the door's now open, so you're welcome to get up and leave if you want, or you can keep arguing. Uh, Not much is going to change. Like no matter what, the Constitution has to be upheld.
Yeah.
Um, and there's not much that's going to change just by yelling at each other in here. But you're welcome to, if you want to play the part of a
We just
senator.
start screaming. No.
Um,
I'm just gonna do one thing before I end up leaving, and Torbanese is gonna walk over to Chuck, and try to calm him down for a second, and look over and say, "Look, Chuck, we both know uh, you have a very slim chance of winning this, but I think we should talk later. I think you supporting me could be a great benefit for you." And then he's just going to turn and walk away.
uh, Chuck is going to try to send you a message telepathically. If you have to be willing to accept it, though.
Yeah, I'll accept it.
He's going to say, uh, if I interpreted that correctly, if I get votes for you, you'll set me up as the new representative of the Rise.
He's going to look back at Chuck and give him a wink and then walk away.
You're gonna see Chuck kind of gets like a little malicious smirk on his face as he starts to gather up things that he brought, mainly because he's just here to like fill a role.
Mm.
So he just brings things to look like he does stuff, but he runs a prison that's ran by a corporation. So he he doesn't actually do anything. Cool. You're gonna head out. Where are you heading to?
I'm gonna head over to the political power to try to go meet up with Enzio and see what he's learned while we were in our meeting, and then I'm gonna look over at Roland and be like, "Hey, you coming?"
Oh yes, I was looking at the bookkeeper. He's kind of an interesting fella.
Yep, very interesting.
You're gonna hear in your head, he was napping. I saw him.
As soon as he got done with that 4-page book, he instantly fell asleep. I don't know if anyone saw that, but I did. I had pretty good perception around the room, and yeah, that guy was definitely sleeping.
Cool. We're gonna jump back to Enzio. Enzio, what information are you looking for?
So I would be, if you were to try and like enter into Enzio's brain, it would be just pure chaos, because I would be like looking in mirrors and trying to notice people that I recognize and enter into their head and ask them a question, and then flip back to viewing through Torbanese's senses to be able to get a gauge of what's going on in the Senate meeting, and then flitting back, and then, oh, I see another person's just entered, and then trying to get their information. Just pure absolute chaos. The biggest thing, I would be looking for people that I know to be underlings or workers for the other chancellors, so Leonis, Chuck, and Xander, and try to get a gauge from them of what they know happened to the Chancellor Yenroy.
Uh, so that information hasn't really been spread.
I guess I'm looking for the rumors.
Okay, then
Because
there's
I know that
a
everybody's going to be
million.
talking and everybody's going to have all their different theories and all of their different stories of what's happening.
Hmm.
So I would be reaching out there, and as soon as the meeting concluded, I'd probably go try and like actually sit down and do a face to face with like whatever like just group conglomerate of people. I'm sure are just all just uselessly yapping. I would try to just become a person in the circle, but not actually really participate.
Okay. So you're gonna hear a lot of different rumors. Like you hear that he was stabbed. You hear that he killed himself. You hear he was poisoned. Right? And there's a lot of it, and kind of the most interesting thing is your passive insight gives you interpretations into not just like what these people are thinking, but how they're thinking about it. Um, Picking up on like the wording that they're using in their head and just kind of interpreting that. A lot of people seem numb to the fact that someone just died. Uh, there is a small group of people, um, mainly like the people who work what a lot of people would consider like the like less political jobs in the executive tower, that seem to have a actual emotional response towards the chancellor dying. You're gonna notice that these are like people who like would bring the chancellor food and would uh, deal with correspondence from other planets and different regions, things like that. The one that kind of seems off to you is there's a lobbyist for a company down in the Rise. You're not sure which company he represents, but you know that like he seems to be having a little bit more of an emotional attachment to the previous chancellor than most people who work in the more political realm. Um,
So, how often, if I went to recall back, how often would I have seen him and Chancellor Yenroy in the same space?
Suspiciously never.
Okay, that's interesting. But I can tell. I mean, I can roll for it. But how genuine is he upset, or is he the kind of person that's upset in order to get people to notice that he's upset?
So you're not. So I wasn't describing what you were seeing. I was describing what you were picking up
What
from.
I read from it. So
Right.
yes, okay. So I do
So
I feel that he actually has more of a
right.
connection than what meets the eye.
So like in his brain, you could hear him being like before he would speak the words, he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm kind of I think it's great that we are going to be getting a new chancellor after Chancellor Yenroy that passed away, right? Like where the word choice is really keying you into the fact that this guy is like more um has had more involvement with the chancellor than just seeing them around would lead you to believe. Um where
Is he alone or is he in a group?
he's in a group.
Okay.
He's kind of uh I mean, he is a lobbyist, so he's been just kind of jumping from group to group. But yeah, that guy kind of stands out. You trying to decide? I don't think you would know his name either.
But
Um,
I would know that he isn't in direct employment of the chancellor. He just works for a company that provides services potentially for the chancellor.
Yeah, or at least not openly in direct
Right.
employment.
I'm
Um,
gonna wait for Torbonese and Roland to get there,
mhm.
but I'm gonna try to clock as much as I can where he ends up.
Okay. Uh, he's going to kind of just end up in a group of lobbyists right before Torbonese and Roland show up.
Are they drinking a decent amount?
Uh, a fair amount, not any more than what would be considered normal.
Works.
So like a bottle of whiskey each, right? That's normal. Right?
Uh, yeah.
750s all
So
around.
Yeah.
Torbonese and Roland, you're going to enter into the political power.
So I'm gonna walk in and I'm just gonna go directly to Enzio to see if he's like what rumors he's heard because I still at this point have no idea how the Chancellor died. I don't even have a clue. So
The good news is you're not the only one. Everyone does not have a clue what happened to the Chancellor.
hmm,
So we're on even footing there, but I intend to get us that step ahead.
interesting.
Roland's gonna go over to the bar and order a whiskey and coke, a gin and tonic, and a beer, and bring it back to the where Torbonese and Enzio are, and he's gonna say, I don't really know what you guys like to drink, but here you go.
uh,
Okay. Which drink is everyone going for?
Roland instantly picks up the whiskey and coke.
They just look at Torbonese and look it down at the other two, and then look back at him, and then look down at the other two, and then just like very steadily grab the gin and tonic and pull it back.
yeah. I guess Torbanese is gonna look down at the beer and kind of have just like a sad look on his face, and then he's gonna slowly like just pick up the beer and take a small sip, um, and then
Torbonese, you have to keep your mind clear. There's much to learn about this whole situation, so I think beer is the right choice.
so I guess this is not technically how it works, but you know what? Never mind. No, never mind. Never mind. That's dumb. That's a waste of a spell slot. Okay. Yeah. um, and so he's gonna, I guess, look around and see if he sees anyone that he would be familiar with from the Senate or like uh, any other representatives that may have just came out of the meeting.
So there's no other representatives here. Um, there are people that work for those senators. There are people that work for you here. Um, like this is a pretty big bar, and right now it's probably the crowdest it gets.
Hmm.
Um, there are a few of like the people who are normally here, just kind of uh tucked in, and yeah, there's like uh just a lot of people who are kind of not allowed to be working at the Senate, not allowed to be working in the Chancellor's Tower. Um, Pretty much the only group that's still kind of working right now is the Judiciary group, and I would say they're probably working quite a bit. So they're all busy. Um, yeah, like everyone from the secretaries to the lobbyists to the postal workers are here. So like there's quite a few people that you know.
Roland would like to make a perception check around the room and just see. So Roland is under the impression that the Chancellor possibly was murdered from just the rumors that are floating around, and he just wants to see that, thinking that this is like the biggest place and where a lot of people would go after something, crazy or anything like that would happen. He just wants to make a perception check around the room to see if anyone is acting out of the ordinary or weird or suspicious.
Uh, Nobody's acting suspicious. As you look around, but you did ask to make a perception check, so let's go ahead and roll that.
All right, let's do it. 14.
14. Yeah, nobody's like really doing anything that would like that's perceivable that you'd be like, that's weird.
Okay.
Maybe just people that are drinking a little bit earlier in the day than normal.
That's fair.
Torby's going to look over at Enzio and Roland and just be like, look, as just so you guys know, if you get any chance, if we end up seeing anyone who's linked with the Under, we need to make a good impression. I know that
The Under.
I know that Enzio, you were listening in on our conversation upstairs in the meeting, and as you can tell, we have a good chance of winning this, but we need to make sure that the Under is on our side.
Well, of course. Whatever you say, Torbanese.
Good.
I have a question for you. What do you think happened to the Chancellor?
I think it's a little too early to tell, but over his 80-year reign,
but what do you think?
I mean, he had another 20 years left, and he seemed pretty spry the last time I saw him. I don't think this was natural.
Yeah, when was the last time a Chancellor was removed from power?
I don't.
2,600 years ago.
It's been a long time since they've been removed from power. I mean, this has been. I'll explain politics to you. All right, so what usually happens, Roland, is after the Chancellor
Yes.
does his 100 years, he chooses the next person, and at least for the past few chancellors, they've all been cloud representatives. So this is our one chance to pick up the rise and make a name for ourselves.
I see. So if you become Chancellor, will you be able to pick your cabinet?
Absolutely. And he smiles.
Interesting. And Roland goes back to scanning the room.
Roland, you're gonna see the bookkeeper come in, and he's gonna kind of start walking towards the bar that you guys are near. Once he gets closer, everyone's gonna see him, and he's gonna turn, and he's gonna see Enzio, and he's just gonna kind of like give him like a strange look, and then he sits down and he's going to order a vodka and soda. As he looks like he's deep in thought.
Is he sitting at the bar?
Yes.
Did Enzio see the look that he gave him?
Yeah.
That was kind of weird. Enzio, what do you think that was about?
The bookkeeper is a very odd man.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree on that.
He knows the Constitution pretty well, though. I'll give him that.
I need like 3 more of these drinks so then I can go have a conversation with him and not explode.
Roland goes up to the bar and grabs 3 more gin and tonics and comes back and says exactly what you ordered.
Nothing ever gets past you, Roland.
That's what I'm here for.
Torbides is gonna try to do some politicking a little bit, and he's gonna kind of walk around the room a little. Just going to people that are like that he knows that are not super high up, but like relatively high up. All people that work in the under. Um,
Mhm.
and he's gonna just like imply and try to like hint at creating some of his own rumors about how the cloud just wants to mistreat the rest of the under, and kind of just like sow some hostility towards them.
Okay. We're gonna make this a deception check, which I know you're really good at, but the DC for doing this over and over again with a crowd, we're gonna say it's a 25.
25. Okay. All right. All right. That's a
Deception.
13 plus 18. So, yep.
Yep. You're
Yep,
gonna
31.
succeed as in convincing everybody not only that uh the or that the cloud is trying to just step on the under, but also that they they care about what happens to the under. Like you kind of reach out and get to like their emotional being. That's like there are people down there,
Mhm.
and all the cloud wants to do is just make them another cog in the machine that buys them fancy wooden chairs from who knows where. Like you represent these people, you're heroes here, and like going into this whole long thing where you're like not only lying to these people about what the cloud wants, but also lying to them about what they want,
Mhm.
and they believe you.
I definitely like dig deeper on the chair thing, and it's just like
Mhm.
real deep about how like the under doesn't have any chairs, and up here we have chairs, but I keep it modest. I only have 3 in my office. When I go into the cloud senator's office, he's got like 10, 15 chairs. It's like he's just showing off.
Yeah, it's wild.
As we're in a room full of chairs and stools.
Yeah.
Yeah, really high deception
Yeah.
roll. um Enzio, you're gonna kind of hear, like, is your like mind channel kind of still open?
No, once we co-located again, I would be dropping it. It definitely something that requires a lot of effort, so my own thoughts get kind of put on the back burner whenever I'm doing something like that.
Okay. um he is, oh, not he, uh Aaron is gonna walk into the bar, and he's going to order uh like 2 or 3 shots, and you're going to see like he's not looking great. He's like sweating profusely, and he's then going, like, after the shots he's gonna like stumble towards the door to go outside.
I'm going to first drink the first drink that Roland got me, and
Mhm.
then I'm going to pick up the second drink to take with me, and then I'm going to hand him the third drink. All right, it's your time to shine, and I'm going to point him over to the employee that I noticed earlier that was actually having a kind of real reaction to
Mhm.
Chancellor dying. You gotta put on your mournful face. You're a sad little puppy, and they need you right now.
Oh, I can do this. Back when I was a soldier in the war, I lost
Yeah.
many
Yeah,
friends.
yeah, yeah. Good,
Yeah,
good,
like
good
that,
stuff. Yeah.
like that.
So that
Oh,
that table over
right.
there. Yeah, and I'm gonna hand him the drink for him to take with him.
Do you want me to drink this, or should I give it to him?
You'll figure it out.
All right, and I go and walk towards that table.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go over to. I'm gonna go over and like I'm going to the restroom, and I'm gonna go catch Aaron,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna try to look him in the eyes and see what I see.
Okay. You catch up to Aaron as he turns around and he's like, Enzio, I messed up. I messed up, Enzio. But I I, get, I gave him half a bottle like you said, and he's going to hand you a bottle of, like, it's a potion of death, and it's half the bottle, and it's sealed like it's good, but he's gonna be like, I think I got some on me.
Don't
And
worry, there's no mistakes we can't fix. Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna shut the fuck up, and you're gonna leave, and you're gonna
okay,
go away from here. You're
okay,
gonna go away from humans. You're gonna go away from all people, and I will find you. And I'm gonna
okay,
touch him and do the gaze of two minds so that I can see where he goes.
okay. Uh, he's going to head towards the spaceport, um, and try and catch the train down to the surface.
Okay.
Um,
And without missing a beat, I'm just gonna go and sit down with the bookkeeper next to him at the bar with my fresh gin and tonic. So, how was your meeting?
ah, it was good.
Everybody listened
I
to you exactly as they should?
They did, yeah.
Hmm, I gathered.
I I just think it's interesting that no one really cares or ever shows interest in the Constitution.
Hmm. Well, we make these laws. It's moderately understandable that we should abide by them.
Yeah.
What do you think should happen?
I I think I think the election I think the election should go on, and I I think that they should investigate what what happened to him.
And in your heart of hearts, what do you believe is going to happen?
Anarchy.